Hey, we're back. We're live. And I apologize about missing last week. I was on an airplane. I totally screwed up the timing on it all. And nobody wants to see you go live on YouTube from an airplane seat where the background noise is probably insane. And honestly, it was the lighting. It wasn't going to work. You know this. I know this. Let's move on. Today, I want to talk about throughput. I want to talk about two things really with regards to throughput and what that means and how we have a system culturally of building traps for small businesses and locking them in. And I also want to cover my most important thing, which I know I've been doing since I just reduced my live sessions to Fridays only. But a quick context for new viewers. If you This show's about web design, it's about process, it's about mindset, it's about creative entrepreneurship. And I often cover topics like this. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe. I go live every Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, US Eastern Time. And it's something I've really enjoyed doing, and hopefully, and I've heard from a few people that it really drives some value. So thank you. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all of that. So part one here, small businesses often step into traps. They step into partnership traps, and it's so common, we almost just assume that's the way it is, so that's the way it has to be, and neither of those things are true. Sorry, bearer of bad news here, but throughput is about helping a business get things done, and oftentimes we look to automation. We think about the sustainability of our freedom and our time as business owners and leaders, and I think sometimes we think about throughput as just speed and freedom and sustainability, but it's a lot more than that. And like my company, we have a process. We built a system to help clients. And there's, sure, they get a website, and there's automations and integrations when it comes to being able to support these businesses. And it's important that we're careful not to build cages or blockades. And traditionally, that works in a few areas. And I want to call it the three most common. One would be, and this might be surprising, legal compliance and documentations. An example would be your privacy policy and terms and conditions documentations. Those little links at the bottom of the website that most people ignore unless there's a concern. And a lot of companies, I would say most of my clients, so let's just assume most small businesses, don't have recent or up-to-date accurate documentation in this regard. If nothing has ever changed in the business and you created those documents when you first launched your website, they're probably okay, though I recommend taking a look. The reality is business changes, our marketing efforts change, and those documents just sit there and fester and age out and become inaccurate, if we even have those documents at all. And I talk to lots of businesses. I have lots of clients that don't have those docs at all. And I'll mention it, maybe you should have those docs. I got a partnership coming up I'm pretty excited about that's going to help with that. I have more on that in a future video. But I think it's important that we actually keep those documents updated. Like, I know Maryland just made an update to their laws when it comes to consumer privacy. And there are about 7 other U.S. states that are about to do a very similar law. Most will track it. It's a great idea to just maybe comply with California, Massachusetts, some of the states that are more out front with these things. But that's not always easy. And the applications for managing documentation and cookies and cookie accepting and declining are not cheap for small businesses. So these are important engagements. So oftentimes they get locked in to a document, or they have to pay per document. And that's why those things age out, because we get really busy and then we don't go back and make those updates as we transition our marketing or brand in certain ways, communication strategies. So highly recommend thinking of ways to make that automated and consider throughput. And the partner I'm bringing on board, I'm aligning with, is Termageddon, and I'm really excited about it. The next one would be ordering, point of sale software, online ordering, even to some degree e-commerce, maybe a little less so. That one's a little spotty, but I see a lot of restaurants get trapped with these really expensive engagements with names I'm not going to mention, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the freedom to own your customer engagement. And what happens a lot of times, there's documentation, that's part of their contract, that says whether or not these businesses actually own the customers, if they can pull their list down or communicate with those customers if they were to stop that engagement ever. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And I think that's problematic. So I am excited to partner with AllDay Ordering. That very soon is going to happen. And I think that there's a way for these businesses to own those customer engagements and not pay through the nose in what is essentially ransomware, where they're locked in. And if they want to continue communicating with those customers, they have to continue that software engagement. And that is very uncool. The next one is, I'm going to throw my own industry under the bus here. Number 3. All right. Feel free to rage comment down below, but I'm here to tell you that a beautiful website can really, really help a business propel, build tremendous amounts of momentum in their market and with their customers if they're doing a lot of their marketing right. But unfortunately, it is not just cultural, but it's almost tradition to build a website that the client or the brand itself can't access or make updates to. Or maybe they can update just the text, but they can't change an image. Some of that's hard coded in. Or there are other aspects of building out a website that, while nice, isn't actually serving the business. If a business needs to go to the web designer to make any updates, that's not a good look. That's lock-in. That is another form of ransomware. That is getting future sticking points built out so that that business can't function without you. And also very uncool. If a business chooses to not bother making updates to the website, that's fine. I have a dozen clients, probably more than that, that function that way. They just want to fire off an email. That's fine, but that has to be their choice. If they want to go in and update the website, they should be able to update anything they want on that website, anytime they want, if that is what they desire. And unfortunately, most websites being created, that's not possible. And that is a trend I would love to change. That's why I use Squarespace. It is really easy to use. It is free of most, if not all, of the security challenges that more popular build-it-yourself coding programs come with. And we have to start thinking about throughput in this connection economy, where connectivity to the business itself has value, that the deliverable itself is not the thing of value. It's momentum. It's connectivity. Those things have value into the future. Creating a website, creating a brochure, the actual output that we're generating is itself not that valuable. And I hate that probably upsets a lot of people who just value it as art. Fine, I guess that's not the point. The point is thinking about how we serve and how we show up every single day is the most important aspect of supporting as a service in this connection economy. So I know that one turned into a bit of a rant. That's not really what my intentions were, but I think there's three examples of ways that we as an industry or as a service, not even just my industry, as service providers in the digital space, period, think about ways to creatively avoid blockages and blockades that require time, and instead think about throughput. And that's kind of what, and really thinking about those was why I wanted to talk about this, because yet again, a recent client, like we just rescued from WordPress, they had a website being hosted by a PR firm that they didn't want to engage with and hadn't engaged with in years, and it was aging out and they needed updates and it had security issues. They had no access. They had no logins to the server. They had no logins to the website. It was a really tough situation, and the company wasn't going to help them because they're not a client anymore. And those relationships break down sometimes. There's so many things wrong with that. So many things wrong with that. That's what led me to doing this type of subscription-based engagement, because I had noticed a few years ago that the real value is connectivity and access and support. It's not necessarily in the deliverable. And that was when my mindset shifted, thinking about the value of throughput to the client business. So speaking of throughput, part 2 here is my most important thing. And I've been doing this on these Fridays videos. If you're new, the last couple Friday videos, I've kind of focused on what is my most important thing to accomplish next week, and did I accomplish my thing this week that I really wanted to accomplish. And look, when you're an entrepreneur, it's hit or miss. Yes, some weeks you hit your goals and you walk out on a Friday afternoon swinging your hat and like, yoo-hoo, like, no, rocked it, nailed it. And some weeks, listen, I walk out of here on a Friday afternoon like, I'm working tomorrow because I absolutely did not nail this week. And perception and reality are different. I can appreciate that. Yes. Look, my team and we got a ton of work done. In fact, in the last 2 weeks, we've launched several websites. We've built several websites, and we still got 6 more in queue right now that are under development. And business is going well. Development and creative, the design is going really well, and we're providing good support, which is really hard. And honestly, this week, I did not accomplish my most important thing. Last week, and I didn't accomplish it yet, I said yet, this week, which was to create a new conversion video at the top of this channel. It's one of the most important things I can do for the business over the long term. And last week, I recorded it. This week, I set out to finish editing it. I thought last week, not only was I going to record it, I was going to finish editing it, and I didn't. And I know a couple of you folks have left comments saying, hey, I want to edit your videos. That's super generous. I don't see that happening yet. I'm not making enough videos to remove myself from that process yet, but I will, and that will happen. This week, I was supposed to finish editing that video, and I did not yet, but it is only 11:13 and I've got the rest of the day, and I figure it's going to take me about an hour. So I think it can be done. Although someone just reached out and said they want to hop on a call because they have a lead for me, and I'm probably going to do that instead of edit the video. See what I mean? You see what I mean? So I think it can get done, and next week I'll have a whole new most important thing, my MIT next week, which is going to be building out the marketing plan for my new done with you cohort style offering, which is taking my company's process called the Credibility Playbook and turning it into the Wow and Flutter website update program, which is going to be the same process with a few extra steps that are more technical and more art direction, right? I don't art direct clients. I want to art direct people who are the business owners and editing their own website, because a lot of people get stuck, even with a simple, what I would assume to be a simple platform like Squarespace. People get stuck. They install a template and they're like, now what? I can't pick fonts. I don't know enough about color. The photos that I'm choosing aren't working. What do I do? This is important to the business, and it's not right there yet. And I want to help those folks too. They can't afford my agency, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't or shouldn't have access to my expertise and my team's expertise and all the things that I've learned from doing this for 30 stinking years. So I think I'm really excited to get that out. I think it is going to be a game changer for my business, and I really want to expand the number of people that we can help, because the web is still tremendously important, and I think that's possible. So anyway, I'm going to put a link down below if you want to see the landing page for the WoW and Flutter program. It's coming along. Some copy tweaks necessary, and the video obviously isn't there yet, but I'm going to stitch my parachute on the way down. I'm not going to sit in a chair, in a throne, in a shawl covered in perfectionism. That's going to hold me back from publishing. That's not how I roll. Stitch the parachute on the way down. Jump, go. The net will be there. I'm going to make the things. And that's my mentality. And that's how I'm going to move forward. So anyway, those are the two stories about throughput that I wanted to share today. I can't believe that went 16 minutes. My goal was 10. Kind of blew it. But there's always next week. Anyway, I don't know if you've noticed, I've published a bunch of how-to videos. A half a dozen, five to seven. I don't remember. I've just been doing them. And they're over on my channel. Check those out. You may know how to do some of those things, but I'm open to feedback, criticism, input. I also love when people like them and say, hey, great work, whatever. I really appreciate you sitting here for 17 minutes and watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully it made you think about throughput. That was the entire goal. And I will see you next Friday right here live. Like and subscribe. Leave me a comment. If you want to watch future videos, the subscribe thing is probably the best way to get a notification. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you again.